8 o'clock, and we are live. Live here with Daniel Crooks. I'm Frank Trutini, the Integrated Man. Got my boy Daniel Crooks with me tonight for a conversation. How you doing, Dan?
Doing great. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
What are you so excited about?
I don't know. I've been looking forward to it. I've been watching the other conversations, and tonight's my night. So here we go.
Gotcha. Yeah, you couldn't watch the last one, right? Because last one we had Rudolph was supposed to be on with us, but he's on he's doing that other adventure you got going on right now. We'll probably touch on that a little bit because it's such a highlight of what's going on for you.
Yeah, it's front and center right now.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. And so, really, thank you for carving the time out tonight, just to get in. Really, since you saw the list, a couple of. Well, we did 3 so far. You saw maybe 2 of the 3. You've seen it. It's just been, a conversation. Don't know where it's going to go right now. I have an idea, and for me, that's the exciting part about it. I mean, we've had a couple, 3 or 4 conversations offline that just like kind of went, and I was like, boy, I can't wait to get into something juicy, and just kind of see where it goes. Without any intention, right? Then it's like, then how do I let go of that? How do I let go? I kind of put that intention out there and just kind of hold. Okay, I hope it, and just let it flow rather than try to push for it. If that makes sense. So it's, I know when I want something to happen, sometimes I'm too clingy to it.
Yeah, we'll create something, really authentic. If it's not in our heads.
And that's, but I also, it's kind of holding attention for something special to happen, without kind of forcing it. And that's really been our, 2 or 3 of our conversations, I believe, went there. I think we had some pretty special conversations. At least they were for me.
No, I completely agree with you. Every time we chat, we go deep pretty quick. Start getting that creativity going, and you and I have a lot of overlap in life experience and interests and knowledge, and your guidance recently has been very helpful for me when I've called you and just what to do. Here, I've got this. Step 1, boom, boom, boom. Like you told me, if you want something, think about the perfect day, right? Like, what does a journal entry look like on the perfect day, and not just like, it didn't just help me understand sort of the vision of like what I'm interested in. Like when I had to have a perfect day, it showed me what I care about when I'm thinking about what is my perfect day. My perfect day ended with my wife and I being able to sleep in the same bed because we got 2 little kids, and it's often the case where we don't get to do that. And I was like, it just struck me, it's like, that's my perfect day. Like that little detail really like hit home for me,
Now, that's great. So what I'm hearing is more than having the vision, just being intentional. Right? Like at the end of this day, for this day to be perfect.
Yep.
What shit you went through, right? If me and her were just sleeping in the bed at the end of the day. There was no kids cuddled up with us. God, we love the kids, but like, go away.
Get my wife back from the baby and my toddler.
I have had 5 kids, so I get it. What are you saying? Like to hold that thought of ending the day like that is something that you can cling to and be intentional about having or wanting or desiring so that it comes true? Or are you holding that as a vision like far off in the future?
So I'm just I mean both, right? Like I want that to come true. And for me, like specifically in the journal entry, it was like just that feeling, you got your lamps on either side, and one of you is reading a book and the other one's like writing in your journal or whatever, and you're just kind of talking about the day and connecting, before you go to sleep at night. And I just miss that, I missed that with my wife. And so I was thinking about a perfect day and was like, well, that's gotta happen. And so, yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Right now is a crazy phase, and I'll get that perfect day.
Well, you got the perfect ending to the day. You can kind of start there, right? And hold that as an intention. Like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen.
Well, I really believe that. I was actually, I shouldn't even say I believe that. I know that, right? I was talking to a friend of mine.
What do you know?
That if you hold that intention, it's going to happen. Or I could say I just have had a lot of luck with that. But my wife, right? When I was 24, I wrote a journal entry. I had been dating women who liked me, and I went through the series of women that liked me and went, what about what I want and deserve? And I wrote it down and I put it in my journal entry. I said, this is the person that I want. All the qualities, all the interests, all the things that I want. And after like maybe a year of dating my wife, she was still my girlfriend, I came across that journal entry and it was like, oh my God, like this, everything here, like fits perfectly. And it kind of blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had things like that in my life also. And I've heard other stories, amazing stories similar to that. And every time I hear it, every goddamn time I hear the story like that, I think to myself, why aren't I doing that with everything?
That's a great question.
I have the evidence. I have enough social evidence. I have enough tangible evidence, my own life. And it's one of those questions at this point. I'm like, man, yeah, I should do that with everything. And I don't, and you don't.
Correct.
Right. So like, what chance to folks that have no clue about that intentionality? What clue do they, what chance do they have of getting that right?
This is very interesting that this is coming up. That other thing we talked about, early on, I tried to identify, what are some things that need work, and intentionality was one of them. I bit off more than I could chew in this training program. I mean, I chewed it and I swallowed it, but it wasn't pleasant. We'll put it that way. Just staying up nights and working extra hard and trying to do everything I possibly could so that this decision to take on so much wouldn't affect my wife and my kids, or any other person on my team, really, so that I would just, take the hit and grit my teeth and bear it. But I realized that I didn't do that intentionally. I made a decision to take something on impulsively. And it wasn't a conscious choice. I did it for a good reason, but it wasn't a conscious choice. And so intentionality has been on my mind a lot, actually.
Make your distinction there. If you did it for a good reason, but it wasn't a conscious choice. Well,
so the situation was, somebody needed to take ownership of a meeting, and it was a large task and largely unknown. What does it entail? We didn't really know, and nobody said right away that they wanted to do it.
Okay, just hold that thought right there for a second. So for anyone listening, just to give some framework, Dan is involved in um, a program of 8 meetings structured with how many men do you have on the team?
11.
11 men, and it's a team building, personal growth experience. There's no other way to explain it, and it's
Yeah, that's
amazing.
right.
I've been involved in several of them, and what makes it even more challenging is that the 11 men are from all over, right? You have men from many different states, not just, when I did mine, we were like, New Jersey, most of the north of New Jersey and New York. That's where the men were from. But you have men from all over the place, correct? 11 men.
Yeah, Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. I think that's it.
Yeah. So the challenge of this 8-week challenge, if you will, is to bring these men together and create a real bond of men that are in it for each other, and know how to do that, and are actively doing it. Like, gone through the struggles of fuck you, asshole. Type of thing in the beginning. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it for you. To come on, we can do it. And it's just an amazing transformation when we as men get past that ability to trust other men. Right? And that's kind of what it gets down to, right? It's like I believe it. I spoke about this at the weekend a little bit. I believe that's in our men's DNA is that we don't trust other men because in our reptilian brain, that's the other man was the one that came in with the coconut and beat you to death while he beat your kids to death and took your woman and any meat that you had. Like other men aren't our friends, they're threats for the most part, I think, in a DNA level. So it takes a little bit. I've never met a man right off the bat that trusts other men like implicitly. That wasn't a little, not all there.
Yeah, well, I thought I was that man until this last meeting, and I learned even in the back of my own head, there was still something there that needed to be dealt with to break through and really trust.
And I think that's the work, right? Well, I hear a lot about men's work. We do men's work. What's the work? Well, it starts out with, trust another man. Like at that level, that's work. And even if you, for myself, even 17, 20 years into this, it gets challenged often, and it's not the world we live in. It's this, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Right? Because I need that filter. We all need that filter, survival filter. Who do I trust that person? But then when they say, yeah, trust that person, to really trust, that's a skill to build also and kind of go with it. And there's so much.
Yeah, to have the capacity for both.
Yes.
Yes. Otherwise, you're not really free. If you're stuck in one mode of reactivity and you don't have a choice, then you're not really in control of yourself. You're not really sovereign over your own behavior.
So I'm sorry I sidelined your original thought about the conscious choice you were making.
Oh, yeah. So
the container that you're in making this choice.
Yeah. So my intention was, if somebody's got to do it, I'll just do it. Like I'll save everybody else the struggle and the difficulty, and I'll just take that on for the team. So it's a nice thought, but it's also naive and impulsive. So it was a big lesson for me of like, there's a space between stimulus and response, and I did not take that space. I'm in a world of trouble. So this program really pulls out all of those kind of weak links in your thinking and the way that you operate, the way that you relate to people. And it's really a beautiful thing because you're in an environment where once you trust your team, it's okay to show that. It's okay to be that. It's okay to say, I got stuff I got to work on. and trust that the men on your team are going to be there for you and help you deal with it, because they also know what it's like to have the things that they're working on. And it's okay to just be human. Somebody said that to me, like, oh, wow, you're human. That's great.
Right. And what did they mean when they said that? I mean,
I can't go into
not
detail,
the details, but like, what do you think they meant when they said, "Oh, you're human"? Was it as a description of you were going through emotions?
the way that I interpreted it, I mean, yes, I was going through emotions with my team. And the way that I interpreted that is, if Crooks is human, and this man who appeared to be strong for everyone is just like me, we're all better off. Like, I feel in a way it kind of gave permission for a lot of men on the team to also be human.
So that's leadership. That's what I'm hearing is leadership. But what I'm trying to pull out, what I'm trying to elicit from you is when you say to be human, elaborate on that. What are you getting at? For you, what are you getting at? What does that mean? Like, I can mean one thing to me, but I don't want to give my definition. I want to hear what.
Yeah, for me, it's really in the terms of men's work, right? It's taking that mask off. What's under there? What's the human under there? Not the image, but the real deal. To be human, really human. Not some image that makes you seem like you're above it, but just the authentic, genuine truth of who you are. And I thought I was being that, but this program has really showed me that even however I think of, whatever I think of myself, I'm still sort of blind to certain things.
Okay. Sure. So you don't have. So what I'm hearing inside of that, it's just see if I'm accurate, that your perspective of who you are is broadening.
Absolutely.
And in that broadening of perspective, now I have to deal with things that I wasn't even aware of. That's how I'm just.
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, now I see it. I got two choices. That's what happens to me at that point. Now that I see it, I get two choices, maybe three. Fucking ignore it. Right? And I got my finger up over here. Ignore it.
You got two there.
I can't unsee it. Yeah, I still can't unsee it, but I could try to ignore it, or deal with it, or put it in the queue, and then it's just there, right? And I'm not talking. This could be a to-do list thing, or it could just be a personal to-do list thing.
Yeah. So what was so interesting? Sorry, go ahead.
It's hard to unsee those things for me when it comes into my consciousness. It's hard. It takes energy to really crowd them out, and I think that's what personal growth is. Seeing things in a different way than I've seen them before, and saying, "Oh shit! Now I have no choice but either to feel the pain of not doing it, or to do the work. To deal with it." And that's what my teacher said all the time. It's like consciousness, this road of consciousness, becoming conscious. It's not an easy road. It's not an easy road. We have a phrase in our language, right? Ignorance is bliss. Oh, fuck yeah, right? Like, when I didn't know shit and stuff was going around behind me, I was happy as a clam. Closed off. Yeah, nothing outside my shell bothers me. It's nice. It's fucking nice, man. I'd love to be happy as a clam right now. In a way, right? I mean, it's like, and not really, but
Yeah, what's the cost though, right?
I don't know, but you can't unsee it. It doesn't matter. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
That's
If
something
you're
that
on,
we talked about
if
early
you're
on.
if you're on this live stream and you're watching us now, you're in. There's no going back.
Give everyone the bad news.
Might as well get on for the ride.
No, it's that's exactly my experience as well. And I came off of that sort of realization about how I was being, and came home, and it was like, life just granted me the opportunity to face it right away while it was still fresh. And I ended up in a situation with my family and social situation where I had to go through the pain again as soon as I got home, and go, oh, okay, this is the thing that this training program is teaching me. So I just need to do that. And it's not like it's easy. I mean, it was really hard. It was very difficult for me to, humble myself in a situation, because that's the right thing to do, and let down my guard, um, as a means forward, instead of maybe my normal way of doing things, trying to be strong. Um, so it was really good for me to go home and kind of get into a situation where I immediately had to use what I learned. Um, yeah. So it was, again, like I said, I guess I'm just lucky with stuff like that.
Well, I was just going to say that. Do you know how lucky you are? Seriously.
It's been very frustrating on men's teams to be talking about really difficult things in my life and have my teammates tell me how lucky I am. But it's true. It really is true. While it was fresh, it was right there.
Right. So I have a philosophy that I adopted, I don't know, 21, 22 years ago. That, and I didn't come up with this, but I'll paraphrase it to how it's infected my life. It started 22 years ago. That I am here, and I believe we are here as human beings on this planet, in this life, in this body, primarily to learn lessons. Right? And what you believe or whatever, I'm not saying, but for me, there's a spiritual aspect to my being, and that spirit is living this life and learning lessons and accumulating more knowledge. And that's why I was asking a little bit, getting to what do you mean by being a human being? To me, that's we're a spiritual being having a human experience. So what is that human experience? And a lot of it is an emotion and the pain of emotion and getting past it and learning from that. And then here it comes the situation again. And do I make the same mistake, or have I ascended? Have I ascended a little bit? And I ascended a little, it doesn't mean the games are over. Just the lessons are going to be a little different. I liken it to a video game.
Yes.
You get in that video game, like a one-shooter video game or something like that, or a hunt, and you go to first level and you get killed right away, and then you get some skills, and
you level up.
And then you get some skills and you collect some more treasures, and you level up. What happens when you level up? It's a little bit faster, it's a little bit more, and there's other dangers, and you're not ready for it, and bang, you're dead. And then you try it. It's in a video game, and you learn this, you learn the lesson, and then you get on, and you know that guy's coming, so you hide behind a pole and you get him. So then after you accumulate the lessons and you apply them and you level up, and what happens? All of a sudden your proficiency is lower, and it keeps happening. So every time you level up, and that's something I think is the fear. I know it's been the fear for me, that level up is like, oh, great. Oh shit. Like,
Yep.
like it's not going to be level up and like, oh, it's level up and bang.
Yeah. When am I ever going to reach the promised land where everything
Oh,
gets easy?
promised land. 40 years it took Moses, right? So I think that's for me, I think that it really is like a nirvana, a goal. Maybe it is heaven, right? Maybe it is that, but maybe that's the idea of it.
I think you make a great point, bringing Moses into it, right? Because religiously and spiritually, like, who do we look towards? What are the stories that resonate within people that really hold them to that journey? They're all horrific. They're all terrible. And it's how these human beings acquitted themselves under those circumstances that showed us that they had found something beyond what we know. That through that situation, that's how they lived. you know um for just to use JC, we'll use JC as an example. He's on the cross preaching forgiveness. No normal, regular Joe is going to be able to have that level of consciousness and intentionality in that situation. So it's inspiring. It moves us. The same thing with the Buddha and what the Buddha went through. You know, just physical deprivation and then the test from Mara, and going through it and having that intentionality even under those circumstances, with all of those temptations and all of that pain and all of that suffering, to still remain intentional. And no, this is the path. I'm sticking to it. You could go on, the story of Rama is the same, the story of Krishna is the same. Like, they're all incredible circumstances and powerful enemies. It's very interesting.
So when I hear you speak, about these different stories from these different deities, and right away my mind goes to, what's the archetype? What's the archetype? Because that's the pattern, right? And that's what an archetype is. It's just this pattern of energy that keeps repeating itself, that either is a guiding light for humans or a reflection of who we are. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Is you hear the term, art imitates reality. So what it is, are the myths a guide for us, or are they a reflection of who we are?
I mean, I kind of feel both.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's what I'm saying. Like, that, to me, that argument, let's say, it's like, who cares? If I can say that they exist and that pattern exists, then we can learn from it. Then I can learn from it. So that universal pattern, and when I heard you talking about, Jesus being on the cross and going through, then you overlaid it with other stuff and the demons and all of that, I couldn't help but fall into the thought about the hero's journey. To bring it back, like the men's work, right? And there it is. We go through that hero's journey. It's like, well, where are you on this wheel? It's not a matter of if you're on the wheel. It's like, where are you on the wheel?
Yeah, you don't get a choice.
What I'm saying is, it's a good capture of a pattern, of a universal pattern. Joseph Campbell captured it, beautifully, outlining this and then overlaying it to all these stories that have been in our past for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And if we can read some of these ancient, maybe tens, 30, I mean, they're finding ancient civilizations from 30,000 years ago now, with these stories that have constellations in them. Yeah, I just heard this on a podcast the other day, and it's, they don't even know some of the languages, but they can extrapolate some of the images. So we've been communicating in stories as human beings and as some species for eons. And it's, so that to me is the essence of the archetype. The energies are really there. And when I can recognize them, I can recognize where I am in the story, what character I'm playing. It's valuable information to know what's up around the next corner. It's like the video game. It's like, oh, wait a second, it's a cheat code to the video game.
Yeah, you were saying, oh, here's that lesson again, right? And I think when you start getting into this kind of work and you're developing your awareness, you start to recognize patterns in your life, overarching themes in your life. You find yourself in a similar situation, you find yourself in a similar relationship, or whatever the case may be. And, the question is, how am I going to respond to this differently? And I think exactly what you said, right? We're here to learn. So if I'm finding myself in a situation again, the way that I interpret that is I'm still learning. I haven't solved this puzzle yet to make it to something else. Like, I keep coming back around to this thing again and again. There's still something to learn here. And I definitely agree as well that being able to have a framework where you can view the patterns and have the, I guess cheat code is a great word for it. You can understand the underlying pattern and what it's about through the archetypes. Then you have a roadmap, and it's not just like, oh, why is this happening? Well, if you can identify the pattern, you go, okay, now I know why this is happening, and I know that there are these options. So you're not lost if you have that knowledge.
And that's brilliant how you just framed it. So thank you. And what happens at the moment when when you recognize the pattern?
For me,
for you, like in that moment, you just said it. I lost it. When you recognize it and you know what to do, I think you said.
Right.
Oh no! Before that, you said, "Why is this happening to me?"
Yes.
Which is great. That victim mentality. Oh, poor me. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Like everything happens to me, which is such a helpless place to operate from. But then when you get into that, when you're in the pattern, when you recognize the pattern, for you, does it shift that you take ownership of? You get to take a little ownership of where you're at.
Yeah. So for me,
right? Like, okay,
when that happens, it's that feeling of, yeah, it's like, imagine being on a ship and being lost at sea, and suddenly your navigation system turns on, and you go, oh, I know where I'm at, and I know where to go. Suddenly, I can captain this ship. If you don't have your navigation system on, you're at the mercy of the wind. You're at the mercy of the waves. You don't know where you are. You can't orient yourself. So that moment of like, aha, is that moment where I can put my hands on the wheel and go, all right, now I'm driving,
Right. So I'll take your example and make a simple distinction. The way I look at it, it's not the navigation system turns on, because the navigation system is always on. Right. It's number one, realizing you have a navigation system, and number two, being able to read it, and interpret it. right? So the navigation system is always on. But am I tuned into it? Am I tuned into it? Am I tuned into my navigation system? Do I know how to interpret the information? That gut feeling, right? Everyone says, "Oh, I got a gut feeling. I knew it. I knew he was going to screw me." Like, if you knew he was going to screw you, why'd you go into the business deal? You had the feeling, but you didn't make the connection till after the results happened. Right? So we go in with hope. And sometimes there's that gut feeling, and it's like, well, something feels off.
That really resonates with me a lot, what you just said, because I do view it like, we're the human body and brain, right? Well, our little vehicle here, it's remarkable, right? You're in a vehicle that whatever it is that you do, it gets better at by itself. If you want to get stronger, push it to get stronger, it gets stronger. If you want to get faster, push it to get faster, it gets faster. But we don't have a manual. We don't actually know how to use it. In its most subtle, capacities. So that what you're saying is right in line with that sort of philosophy I have already, which is like a lot of this learning is about acquainting yourself with the inborn capacity that you already have. And the archetypes, because it is a universal pattern, it's a way of uncovering the patterns that already exist within you. So when you have that key, it's not like you're learning something new. You're just learning what already is. So I like that idea of that, it's not like your navigation system suddenly appears. It's like it was always there, but maybe you just didn't know how to read it. Yeah, right. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And as you were saying, it's funny because, what you just said, I don't know if you heard it. I don't know if that was your language or you heard it from me, because I know that's when I talk at the weekend, Legacy Weekend, I say that. That, hey, this is just putting language around what is. The archetypes. That's all it is. It's just quantifying and systemizing what is. And there's a lot of ways to do it. This is just the language that resonates for me. And it's the one that I teach, and it resonates, for other men too. And if it doesn't, fine, no problem. Go learn your language, So what I want to ask you, just kind of to focus on the weekend just for a few minutes and your participation in it. And for men who haven't joined us before, I met Daniel. Actually, we met about a year and a half ago, right? Once or twice. And the weekend that I'm the lead trainer at, called Legacy Weekend, Daniel was a participant in that with 21 other men, I believe. And how did you find yourself coming to that weekend? I mean, what got you? It's just a short story. What a long story.
I knew that I needed something to get past certain barriers I was facing within myself. And I don't honestly remember, like the moment or the conversation that I had that really made me understand, like, oh, okay, if I go to the Legacy Weekend, I'm going to have an opportunity to do this. I'm going to have an opportunity to break through what I need to break through.
And you assume that because another man said that.
Yes. And the thing about Legacy Weekend is you don't want to tell anybody any of the details, because it's so important to have an open mind and to allow the experience to happen without projecting your own preconceived notions on it.
Yeah.
It would be a disservice to another man to try and plant something that would influence them. It's just that kind of a journey. So out of respect, it's not a secret. It's just, if you go through it, you understand, you want to respect that for the other men that are going to go through it, because it's special.
The experience is so singular. The experience is so singular that you there's an easily to say, oh, this is what I got out of that exercise, could influence that man's experience, right? Because everyone were there with 20 other men, and sometimes 30 other men, sometimes 40, and doing the same exercise, and each man's experience is unique of the same thing to that man, depending on what he comes in there with, what he's holding on to, his scars, his whatever.
So somehow, without anyone telling me what it is, I started to get the impression, okay, this is an opportunity for me. And I went into it with a very specific intention of exactly the thing that I needed to get out of the weekend.
What was that? Would you share with us what that was?
Sure.
Just ask.
No, that's fine. I had been struggling in my life to feel that I was capable of doing the things I was already doing. And so I was having a really hard time, because here I am, I have a wonderful family, and my kids love me, my wife loves me, I've got a business, it keeps growing, I've got one employee, then two employees, and I'm my income is increasing year over year, and I'm doing all the things, and the whole time I feel like a fraud. I feel like, I'm not, because underneath it, I know that I'm not actually good enough for these things. I'm not worthy of these things. It's all going to come crashing down tomorrow, for sure. Like I'm doomed to fail. And year after year, I'm just doing better, and I'm doing better, and I'm doing better, and everything is just going swimmingly, and I can't enjoy it because I just feel like, I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy, right? And eventually I figured out where that story came from and why I felt that way.
If I can hold off, just if I can pause you right there, just to take, because I got to ask this question. How does that feel for you? Like, you're so eloquent at this. That's why I'm asking. So I think this will resonate with some men out there. Like, how does it feel to be having a success, but not being able to enjoy it? Like, what's the pain? Like, I want to ask you. I can describe it for me, but I want to ask you.
Yeah, for me, it felt like I was lying to my wife, lying to my children, lying to my employees. I felt like I was in a perpetual state of deception and dishonesty. Like I deserved something bad to happen to me because I was lying to everyone around me.
Because you were acting the part of being successful, but you knew you had this. Okay. So I got it.
I was literally faking it until I make it. And I made it, but I was still faking it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about now you're successful. Now you get a measure of success, and people seeing you as a success, but you still feel like you're a piece of shit. So is that the lie also?
Yes.
Like not letting them see.
Oh, you guys don't understand. You don't understand. It's just circumstance. It'll all fall apart tomorrow. I'm not actually good at this. I'm not really capable. Like this is just luck. It's explaining away all of your successes.
Would you actually say that, or would you think that? Was that your internal?
No, I would think that,
Think that. What were you saying on the outside?
oh yeah, thank you, appreciate it. It's just like
All right.
probably pretty dissatisfying to the folks that were supporting me. But, that's what it was.
Right.
And I went into the weekend with that, and I said, I want more. This is getting in my way. It's a ball and chain. It's just weighing me down. And it causes all kinds of problems when you're in a relationship with, let's say, a loving wife, and you don't feel worthy. Causes all kinds of problems. You'll misinterpret things and create unnecessary conflict out of nothing because your vision is messed up. Your navigation system is bugged out. So you find yourself in situations or you'll miss opportunities in your life because it takes a more capable man to do that thing. So you'll pass on it, even though you have the capability to do it. And that was a genius way. I can't say that. But that question of what are you capable of is huge. And not defining what you're actually capable of is very important. Thinking that you know what you are and are not capable of already is, I don't want to say it's a mistake, but it's very limiting to define what you're capable of because you don't actually know what you're capable of. Especially if you're a man that hasn't experienced real support, you have no idea what you're capable of. If you're a man who's out there and you're alone and you think you got to do things on your own, I can tell you right now, you have no idea what you're capable of. Until you really have the support that every man deserves, you just don't know. But anyway, I'm digressing. The weekend, I got exactly that. I got everything that I needed and more. I found myself in exactly the right situations with the right men who could tell me the right things at the right time to just shatter that belief. And it worked. I exited that weekend so much closer to who I really am. It was like when people ask me, like, so what was it like, right? Everybody asked me what it was like. And eventually I got down to just the smallest description that I could come up with. And I basically said, okay, at the weekend, I became acquainted with the man that I really am. And I was given the tools to stay that man in my daily life.
Beautiful.
Like, that's basically it, right? Like, I found out who I am that wasn't tainted by these stories that I carry around from experiences 20, 30 years ago that are not relevant anymore and don't need to haunt me anymore.
Hey, Manny, if you're still on, write that down. That we find out who we are and get the tools to keep that going. Live that way.
Yeah.
Or at least have a fighting chance, right? I mean, it's a chat for me. It's a challenge. It's a challenge every day. There's always a challenge, and that's kind of the way I like looking at it. And it's like, okay, am I up for the challenge? What's today's challenge? Not looking at it and not kind of just kind of know it's going to happen. There'll be some challenge today, every day, and that's okay. It's life. That's life. I'm not like, it doesn't mean it's a bad. Guess what? A challenge is good because when I meet that challenge and overcome that challenge, that's when I, as a man, feel that's a proud moment for me. That's a proud moment for me. When I go into that challenge and I fail, well, that's not a proud moment, but it's an opportunity to learn. And am I coming back at that challenge? Do I give up or do I, take it on tomorrow and give it my best tomorrow? I'm in sales. Every challenge like that, right? I mean, every day is a challenge like that. You have your own business. Every day is a challenge like that. If you can look at it, I mean, it's coming. And if it's not the business, if it's not the work, then it could be the wife, it could be the kids. It's just life. And I did this thing years ago, and I have a little video out there on YouTube somewhere is, how to solve every problem in your life simply. And it was just like turn it around and view it as a challenge. Right? Because problems, when there's a problem in my life, I just want it to go away.
Yeah.
Right? The problem is I want it to go, problem, go away. Call it your problem, go away. Right? But a challenge, like challenge, that challenge, that perks me up. Perks me up. Like I'm engaged. Problem, go away. I got to deal with that fucking problem. I got, I'm challenging you to do this. So it's, again, perspective, how I choose to engage with life. Now I'm in that challenge. Now I'm in that hero's journey. Now I can, engage the archetype that I want to engage and, take on that challenge. If I choose to. And there's some challenge like, nah, not today. So, but at least I have, the ones that I do, I feel just that perspective, that way of looking at it, for me, engages me differently. So it's nothing changed. The situation didn't change, but I was able to manipulate myself in a way that serves me.
You've told me a couple of times about a book called The War of Art, not Sun Tzu, but The War of Art. And
Pressfield.
Yeah. And when you're talking about this, I'm thinking about how we find these ways of navigating our resistance. If you okay, I got a problem. Resistance. It's like, okay, is that a problem or is it a challenge? Resistance comes down. And I have a man on my team who is constantly correcting me. I say, oh, well, this is this issue, this problem. He goes, no. This is an opportunity. Over and over and over again. It's an opportunity, that's very wise. And I think even the Chinese kanji for opportunity and crisis are like almost identical. They might be the same character. It's like within every challenge or problem, right, that there's also an opportunity. So by reframing, we can lower that resistance. And for me, resistance takes away my agency. It takes away my intentionality. I become reactive when I'm in resistance. So I was just thinking about that. It's like, oh, this is like a great strategy for lowering that resistance so that you can move forward and stay conscious, or so that I can move forward and stay conscious.
Yeah. when I was listening to you talk a few minutes ago, and I was like, should I interrupt him? And for this, for some of the men listening, should I interrupt him and tell him to speak personally?
Yeah.
It's, and it does hit different. I know when you're doing this much like me, and I put this in your little description of who you are, that you're an emerging mentor. That's one of the things, and in a couple of calls that we've had where you're feeling this pull to be more authentically yourself, and to help others, right? To help others because of because of some of the stuff that you went through, and similar to me, the stuff that I went through, been able to navigate through, learn the lessons, and then feel compelled to share them. I mean, anything that I've learned through my life, I did not learn it to, be here on a Monday night on a Facebook Live sharing with you. I just went through those lessons because, life dealt them to me, and I was lucky enough to learn lessons, and been sharing, and it's just part of my DNA that every time I've learned something that has enhanced my life, I've shared it with other people. I haven't had desire to, whatever, it happens. I've learned how to ski. Not a good skier. I taught other people how to ski. I learned how to golf, became a pretty decent golfer. I was teaching other people how to golf. Like things like that. Basketball coach. I got my, matter of fact, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Tell me if you got it. No, is it in there? Coach T.
All right. Yeah, there you go. We got it.
The back of my hoodie is one of my favorite hoodies.
Yeah, it's almost like you got an archetype in there somewhere, Trattini.
Yeah, well, I do. And in the work that I did with Carolyn, I have a teacher archetype in my fourth house. But we won't get that far down the rabbit hole. So, absolutely. I have that teacher archetype. I don't know where I was going with that. Where was I going with that? Oh, so we've talked a few times, and you said, wow, and you said at the beginning of this call how we have very similar stories, very similar paths, backgrounds. I'm a little further down that road than you with the gray hair. But you have mentioned that you have this, I hesitate using the word calling, but pull, about sharing your lessons with others. Speak to that just a little bit.
Well, first of all, it's something that I've always just found myself in. It's not. I've just very much like you said. I just find myself there, and when I find myself there, it's so nourishing for me to feel helpful, feel useful. That the things that I've been through and the lessons that I've learned are not just sitting around in my head doing nothing for anybody but myself. I've spent my whole life studying and studying and studying for my own benefit, to get through some tough experiences and very difficult inner circumstances to get where I am. And the Legacy Weekend showed me that that's okay. It's okay for me to have something to offer. And I came back to my regular life and I experimented a little bit, and I said, okay, here's something that I would normally not say to someone. I see something happening here and I'm just going to say it, and it worked. And then I did it again and it worked again. And this point team is also another sort of training ground where I can hone that ability to see something and test if what I'm seeing is accurate and how I perceive if that can be helpful, just expressing to another man or another person something that you see can completely change how that person understands what's happening with them. It could be just that simple. Earlier in the conversation, you were saying things like, what I'm hearing you saying is such and such, right? That for someone to go, I guess that really is what I'm saying. And if that's what I'm saying, well, geez, I didn't think about it like that. And you could cause a whole domino, just something very simple. Am I hearing you right? Is that what you're saying? But that interaction right there with another person, I don't feel, there are a few situations where I feel more alive, where I feel more happy, where I feel more gratitude than that situation. When I'm speaking with someone and we're connecting and I'm able to see something authentic and express that, and that has an impact, that's the juice, man. That's it for me. Just how I am, my patterns. So I went to the legacy weekend and decided, okay, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's actually something that I should be paying attention to instead of not being good enough to give people what I see.
I mean, this just hit me right now, man. I gotta, we're in the same boat. I believe what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, is that in that moment when, because your navigation system has been turned on, and you have now learned how to read the navigation system, and lo and behold, you can see things for other people too, because the navigation system goes where you shine it, right? The radar goes where you shine it. And when you're able to tell someone else what you see and it's accurate, now you matter. And to the fact that you've affected another person. Like, what's more, that's so uniquely important to you. I shouldn't say uniquely, but that's your switch.
Yes.
That's your switch. And when you can do that for other people, it's like, wow, that's great. Let me do that again.
Yeah. It comes from a lifetime of needing that and not having it, and knowing what it's like to feel alone without any guidance and having to figure it out on your own. And it is not fun. So if there's anything that I can do to help people not go through what I went through and have some cheat codes, like it's an honor to have that kind of an impact on anybody.
Right. Yeah. Well, you've hopefully we've had some impact on men here tonight, whether they're listening live, and if you are, thank you for showing up and listening to this. If not, it's what I said to Ogborn the first time he was on, where we're creating this thing that it lives in perpetuity. So I believe that we've held up our end of the bargain and conducted ourselves in good stead with the rest of the world. So I really thank you for your time. I know this time of day is daddy time for you. So I really do appreciate you giving that up and sharing your time with us tonight. I really do appreciate it.
No, I always have a fantastic time hanging with you. We're not want for things to talk about.
No, and we'll certainly be doing having more talking for sure, more conversations, and maybe another one of these down the line if you're up for it.
Absolutely.
I talked to Ogborn the first time, and at the end of the conversation, we kind of the topic of fatherhood came up.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. Right? See, we talked about it at the weekend and how it really affects every one of us. And I said, well, I know about every man that's, he may not be a father, but you're definitely a son. So, and that's not saying like that's always a good thing, but that's just a fact. And getting into that interesting relationship that could really be it is a driving force. That can really be. It is a driving force for every man out there, good, bad, and different. Somewhere it affects us. And it also affects how we become fathers. And sometimes it could be good and bad. So I think it'd be valuable down the line, maybe to put a little forum, 3 or 4 men to have that discussion.
I would love to do that. I'm a proud father. I'm just like one of the most core aspects of my identity is my family, my kids, my wife. It's very important to me.
Yeah. And on the other side of it, can't divulge confidentiality, but your relationship, with your dad was what it was. So
and now he's upstairs helping me with my kids.
No fucking way.
My father and I, we've made it through.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's great. That's great. All right, brother. God bless you. It's been great talking to you again, as always.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, man. Get back to your family and tell them I said hello.
All right, I will.
Bye-bye.
Take care.